What up, guys? Welcome back to Off the Record, where we talk about whatever we want.
Yeah.
And today's segment is Ask the Expert, and we have a pro MMA fighter, my coach, Ron, here today. Yay!
What makes you a pro, dude? What makes you a pro?
I get paid to hit people.
That's tight.
Yeah.
So my question is this. I always hear this urban legend, right? Where they say, like, once you become, like, a pro fighter, like, your body is, like, a registered weapon. So if you beat someone's ass, like, they can charge you with assault with a deadly weapon. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. You're a registered weapon.
You don't like get registered, like there's not a license I can pull, be like, yo, check it out, weapons. But if you get in an altercation and you beat somebody up, you know, if you have some sort of advanced belt or you're a professional fighter, they show that you have massive experience in hand-to-hand combat. So if I beat somebody up, even if they pick on me and I like knock all their teeth in, break their neck and their arms and stuff like that, I'm gonna get in trouble because I should have known better.
But what if I was a yellow belt and I just started and I'm not like a white belt anymore?
Yeah, because at a high level you should have enough control where you don't destroy somebody and put them in massive.
I'm a yellow belt though. That's just I'm starting.
I'm a purple belt at Junior Karate, which is Taekwondo in Fairfax, Virginia. So you could probably beat my ass and be fine because like I am, you know, I got some practice.
Got some stuff. Got
So
some stuff
what happens? Do people, like, Google, or it's like once it gets to the court case, like, the lawyer does the research and, like, finds out that you're a pro fighter, you've been training? Is that
Yeah. So if I go in the street and I get in a fight with somebody and I put them in the hospital, they're gonna do their due diligence. They're gonna find out my background, and then you'd be like, hey, this guy should have known better. Wow. He was overly trained and he shouldn't have done this to this person. Now this person's the victim.
You know what happened? So our karate teacher, he got in a bar fight and he beat up a cop that was at the bar.
He screwed.
No, he sued the city.
Yes.
And then he won money because the cop, after he got beat up, he pulled out his badge. He started the fight, by the way. The cop was being a tough guy. So he got beat up by our karate teacher, and then he pulled out his badge after he got beat up, and then he booked him and did all the law stuff and called the other cops, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna fuck you guys over. And then because he abused his power, even though he got beat up, he didn't get, like, my sensei didn't get in trouble. He sued the city because the cop abused his power.
Yeah.
That's such bad luck for that cop, though.
He got his ass beat and sued.
Well, no, but imagine like being in a bar and be like, I want to tell this guy he's a piece of shit. And you walk up to him, and then he's a karate instructor.
Like a little Asian dude too, right?
Yeah, he's like 5'3", 5'4".
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is sweet justice. I love it.
When you train, though, don't you go, like, man, I can't wait till I beat the fuck out of someone on the street?
No, it's I started training when I was 17, and
Especially at that age, right? Like, let's say when you're like 19 or 20, don't you go, I want to beat the fuck out of someone?
it's a weird thing. So before I turned 17, I've been in 2 street fights outside of fighting. Yes, my whole life, even after I started training. So before I started training, I got in 1 street fight, and that was with my good friend in high school. He was hooking up with my girlfriend at the time.
Oh.
So you fought your own friend?
Yeah, so I was like, meet me at King's Pizza. I'm like, I'm gonna punch you in the face. And sure enough, I walked up, punched him in the face, blah, 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 whatever.
You don't want to fight him later on when you know way more shit?
No. Well, funny enough, a few years later, we went to a King of the Cage event, which is like a MMA promotion, and I saw him, and I had that look. We locked eyes. I was like, "Are we going to battle?"
You're like, I'll see you at King's Pizza, asshole.
Yeah, you know. So we're gonna battle right now, and then we just kind of looked. He nodded, I nodded, and then like we walked our own ways. I was like, "Ugh." I'm like, okay, nothing happened. I was like, "Ugh, we have moved on with life."
He became a fighter too?
I don't know. I just saw him at the event. Well, I'd assume he has some sort of. He's in the field either as a fan or as a training or both.
Well, if he was eating a corn dog, I don't think he's one of the fighters.
Corn dogs are delicious.
They are.
Fighters don't eat them. Fighters don't eat them, though. You're right.
Yeah. At least not before a fight, I don't think.
Yeah, that's true.
It happens. And then the only other time I got in a street fight was around the corner from my gym team, Oyama. It was after a Christmas party. Wow. I guess we should share that now. It's a good time. So we're having this Christmas party. Everybody's having a good time. We walk around the corner, and we're driving to go home, and this poor little dude's being mounted by this big giant dude and just freaking slapping him. I'm like, hey, what's going on? It's like, babe, I was with my girlfriend.
What was their relationship? Why was he just beating his ass?
I have no idea. They weren't from the gym.
So they were just in the parking lot of the gym.
Right around the corner, because we're in a roundabout, and they're right over there. So as we pull out, I'm like, babe, stop the car. And so I get out, I was like, hey, leave him alone. And then he's like, get off. And he started like saying some like pretty offensive things, like you chink, stuff like that. I'm like, whoa, man. I'm like, you're gonna say that to the wrong person one day, and they're gonna beat you up, man.
One day. Could be right now.
Today's not that day, motherfucker.
Yeah, so he gets up, he like gets right up in my face. I'm like,
You're like, yes, this is what I've been training for my whole life.
yeah, I'm like, oh man. And regardless of how much training you have, you still get adrenaline with confrontation, you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
even like in the street, you know, someone pulls you off and road rage comes out, you still get that like do. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, stuff might happen. But he starts getting in my face. You better get out of here, you freaking chinky gook. I'm like, I'm gonna slap the crap out of you. I'm censoring my language a little bit, not because, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to do it in here, but
You can say whatever you want. Yeah.
But also I don't really curse.
Okay, yeah, that's true. He
I also
does it.
self-censor.
Yeah.
Randomly. So I'm like, whoa. I'm like, are you okay, buddy? He's like, yeah, he's fine, man. He's my friend. I'm like, he's not that great of a friend if he's treating you like that. And he's like, get out of here now, or I'm gonna slap the crap out of you. I'm like, I just came to make sure your friend is okay. You're not a nice person. And he's like, get out of here now. He goes, he spits right in my face. I'm like, and then like usually I don't get angry, but something with spit touching my face gets me really angry.
That's assault. That's assault, dude.
Yeah, so then I punch him a few times. He goes, and then he tackles me, and then so I sprawl and I uppercut him a few more times, and then he falls to the ground, and then he gets up, and then his face is just dripping blood out of his nose and his mouth, and he's like, he gets right back in my face. He's like, you better get the F out of here. I'm gonna call the police. I'm like, what?
He attacked you, and he's gonna call the police on
He spit in my face, man. And then his friend comes up, and is like, hey, please just leave us alone. And now I start feeling like the bully. And I'm like,
Were they role playing? What the fuck?
yeah, it was like bad cop,
Did
good
you have a
cop.
heart on?
And I'm like,
Leave us alone when my friend beats me up.
yeah, I was like, all right, no, just give me my sandals and I'm out of here, man. And then so the guy runs, gives and goes like, let's go. And then my girlfriend in the back, and like, I've never heard her talk like this before. She's like, yeah, that's right, motherfucker, you want a mess? And I'm like, April? She's like, why not? I'm like, the heck did you turn ghetto? I'm like, okay.
That's like standing next to a tank and being like, yeah, you better fucking run.
Yeah, I'm like, get your head back in the car, you know? And then so we drive off, and she's like, guess what? She's like, what? And then she plays this thing on an iPad. She got some of it on video. I'm like, no! I'm like, you're recording? I'm like,
Well, you don't like that? That's sick, though. That's like a fucking fight reel.
yeah. And then
But he
so-
has an actual fight reel too.
Oh, that's true. Good point.
Way better.
But yeah, so that was my fight thing. And so if that, I mean, honestly, if that, I didn't really hurt him that bad, but I stopped. If I would have kept going and then like he would have been in the hospital, he could have easily sued me and he would have won for sure. Because I didn't show restraint. But because I'm training, I just did just enough for him to stop spitting in my face.
But did your wife also record all the friendly talk? Because you sounded really polite and friendly.
Yeah, no,
You sound like you're in a commercial a little bit. I don't think you have a very good friend.
I talk very tacky. It's weird.
That is how he talks though.
I know.
This is why it's funny, because when people picture like pro fighters or whatever, they think these like crazy.
Like fucking face tattoos and shit.
Yeah, but most of the pro fighters that I know are some of the most friendliest, chillest dudes, you know, and the stereotype does not match.
Yeah.
You have guys like Ron who are very like just friendly and happy, and then you see them in the ring and they're just you know,
Animal.
yeah, and then I'm always wondering, right, like how do you tap into that, because you don't fit the stereotype of violence and aggression. And when people think fighting, they think violence and aggression, right? Like, for example, like it's not a natural human instinct to want to hurt somebody. Like, that's a learned thing. Most people, I think, you have to teach them how to hit someone. And then, but like your sport is to hurt. That's the thing that you do. So how do you like learn that or like tap into that?
It's a weird experience. You know, some people like jump off of like skyscrapers, out of airplanes. People swim with sharks. Fighting, I feel like, is one of those experiences where you get like a feeling that just can't be matched doing anything else. And so I'm not really violent, but I also hit stuff all day long. So it's kind of like I'm not a violent person, I feel like, but I do violent things, but only in the gym. It's controlled.
How did you even get into it if you're like always chill and like just like a passive guy? How did you get into like wanting to
I'm
be a
a
professional violencer?
I'm I'm an impulse person, and so if I like something, I go in and I go all in. Like I can't stop thinking about it until I do it in its full capacity.
But you're controlled. You're impulsive, but you have self-control. Like like you're not. So like you act upon what you feel, but you also don't let it go outside of the ring. Well, I mean, you just told a story where you beat the fuck out of someone. like aside from
I was self-defending. I was self-defending.
And it was on the gym premises, kind of.
But you're not like my other buddy who's constantly fighting on the streets. Like it's different, you know what I mean? Like you do have that self-control where you're not constantly looking for fighting.
Yeah, I don't look for fighting. It's a fun thing to know that I'm able to put all this time and all this effort into something, and then someone else is doing the same exact thing, and we get to be locked into a small arena, and then we see who can hit each other the best.
Yeah.
There's a very unique feeling to be able to hit somebody as hard as, and this is something that I discovered that I just didn't know I loved until it happened. And just, I'm all visualizing.
You're like, boom, and you're like,
I'm like, you need therapy.
It's weird. I have no issues. I've had a great like childhood. Like nothing wrong has happened.
you sound like my friend David when he's talking about food. But you're talking about punches. But you're like, when you just punch someone in the face, it's just like,
it's a weird.
He's a martial artist, like it's art. It's a passion for him.
Yeah, I love the art and the aspect of like the ability to like transition from punching to an arm bar and watching their arm bend the wrong way. There's an art to it.
There is. There really is.
Because I think that I'm only speaking on behalf of people who think all forms of this or aggression or violence or fighting is all tapping into the same place. But I know that there's sportsmanship, there's the artistry behind it, and there is the art of like being a warrior, right? Versus someone who's constantly in pain and angry and they're just trying to fight everybody in the world. There's a difference between the two. But I think people who don't understand that, they see it all as one thing.
They just think violence is violence.
Any hurt, fighting, hitting someone is the same thing no matter what it is. But then there is a difference. Like there is a sportsmanship side to it, or like even an art to it. But then there's also like people who are just angry and need to fight all the time. Yeah.
And there are those type of fighters too in the sport as well, where they'll fight on emotion, on that anger. But in my experience, as far as just being an athlete, you look at any top end athlete in the world, they don't use anger. At least at the high end, they're cool, calm, collected until they need to strike, whatever it is, golf, basketball, baseball, whatever. Yeah. And the guys that are using anger, they're very fun to watch, whatever sport you're in. But generally, they don't get to the very, very top.
Is it because like their mind isn't clear, and it's like when you watch a movie, right? And then one of the games is to make your opponent angry, so they don't think clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, clouds their judgment. I think natural ability, speed, power, all that stuff can only take you so far. To get to the very, very top, like this is the thing that's going to separate everybody from everything else, and it's that mental strength, that mental power. And so you look at any champion in any sport, like that's what separates them. Yes, they're fast. Yes, they're strong. But there's something in here that makes them different from everybody else. Whether it's work ethic, strategy, efficiency of their movements, or thinking, or whatever.
Has there ever been a point where like you're training? Because how long have you been fighting for?
About 17 years now.
17? Has it ever come to a point like in the middle where you're like, oh, I'm gonna quit, or I don't want to do this shit anymore? Have you ever like faced?
Multiple times, yeah, multiple times. Especially after I got married, and especially after I got a kid, it gets more and more difficult. I mean, I've essentially dedicated my whole life to fighting, and the end goal was to get into the UFC and become a world champion. And here I am 17 years later, not there yet. And so it's tough to tell your family or your wife to be like, hey, sorry, I can't make it home tonight. I can't make it home to dinner. I haven't been home, until COVID hit. I didn't make dinner for the whole time I was with my wife. So that's like, 4 or 5 years. I never made it home for dinner.
You're just training the whole time?
I've been training, yeah. Our training goes until like 9 p.m. at night. We start at 11 a.m. in the morning.
But like, how come you don't even have cauliflower ear then?
I'm weird. Yeah, I purposely try to keep my ears away from people.
You did good.
Thank you.
Yeah, because our buddy Nick is like, his name is Nick the Ear.
Ear, yeah, he has an
'cause
ear.
he has
I mean, his
that collar.
ear should have its own name.
I know.
It is an ear. But yeah, a ton of my friends have cauliflower ear. I didn't want it, and I didn't want to get surgery to fix it. So instead of driving with my ear, I drove with my temple. And so that
When
little
you say
just-
driving with my ear instead of that, what's that for people who don't know, including myself?
Oh yeah, so for like grappling, generally you do like head pressure. So like you try to like push somebody here, but a lot of times you'll push with your ear to try to like take them down or throw them down or something. But I made a small adjustment by utilizing my temple.
How come you don't have cauliflower temple then?
Yeah, what's up with your temples? They're really
I
nice.
have cauliflower. It's probably a thick skull now. That's what they refer to as a thick skull. But that little adjustment has helped me a lot to kind of just keep myself aesthetically pleasing.
Do people
as much
wear
as possible.
headgear too in MMA? Because I know, so I wrestled in high school, and there's a lot of dudes that have cauliflower ear because they wrestle. But then I like also didn't want cauliflower ear, so I always wore my headgear all the time. Whereas a lot of people that don't, they get cauliflower ear. Is that normal in MMA to wear
Yeah,
headgear?
it varies from gym to gym. Some gyms wear headgear, some gyms don't. Our gym is really big on headgear, and so everybody wears it. And in case in point, I was training with one of my teammates, Chio Vera, like a few months ago, and the one time I took my headgear off, he threw a hook right in my ear hole and popped my eardrum. He's like, "Hey," so pop!
Fuck.
And then, sure enough, I heard a weird ringing noise, and then once we were over, I was like, I plugged to test if your ears are popped. You can plug your nose and then blow into your nose, and air was coming out of my ears. I was like,
shit.
dang it!
Were you able to hear?
Yeah, I could hear, but there was like a light ringing all the time. And that kind of sucks. It doesn't seem like much, but if it's like nonstop 24/7, I'm just like,
You don't go like, man, I love my job.
not at that point. I mean, at that point, I'm like, dang, this sucks. Or it wasn't even, I wasn't thinking about my job. I was like, I should have worn headgear. And then my coach looked at me, he's like, yeah, you should have worn headgear. I was like, I was thinking that. I'm like, and you said it. It was like, was I thinking out loud? I'm like, what the heck?
What's the like the next step to get to the UFC? Like, what's the entry level? Like for wrestling, they have like that place you go to, and like everyone goes in auditions, basically. Like, what's that like?
Yeah, so I mean, there's it's almost like baseball. There's minor leagues and major leagues, and so minor leagues are kind of like smaller regional promotions, and then you'll fight there. Stereotypically, the recipe is you need 3 to 5 solid wins, and by solid, you want to be good on camera. It can't be like decisions. You can't just win 3 to 5 good wins. You need to be like entertaining.
But how come they keep on having shitty fights then, dude? I watched so many fights where guys just hugging on the ground the whole time.
A lot of times they'll do that, and then for whatever reason, because I train with a ton of UFC fighters, that UFC stage is different. You get on that stage, and a lot of people choke, or a lot of people are worried. It's like, okay, I'm here now. I can't be as reckless. I can't be as wild.
So their
I need to be more
game
conservative.
plan changes.
A lot of times, yeah, and a lot of times too, just some people have a lot of good luck and they just get in, or maybe they're from a region that they're trying to build more of an audience.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, let's say you're from, I don't know, Timbuktu. I don't even know if it's a real place.
It's not a real place.
It's not? Okay.
There's no such thing as Timbuktu.
Dang it. But let's say UFC wants to build up more of an audience from that region, right? And so they'll pick the local fighters from that region, even if they don't have that great of a record, just to get more.
Just get those eyeballs.
Because
Yeah.
the local eyeballs will watch.
Yep. I mean, just like you see a lot more Asian fighters being in the UFC now, right? They're trying to build that Asian audience in China. And
China market?
Yeah, and then you also see them putting a lot of time in Latin American fighters because they're trying to build South America. So I will assume or anticipate that you'll see a lot more shows in China and South America when this COVID thing is over.
They built a UFC PI over there.
Oh yeah, they already built that China, that crazy one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're already making those moves because it's a huge market. I mean, China has a ton of people, and now they have a world champion, from China. So.
Damn.
Do you ever think, at your age, do you think it's too late to still make one last run, you think? Or I remember you telling me, like, you're saying, like, with your record, because you do have good experience, but if you were 20 or 25, from the UFC's point of view, they're like, okay, I'll take a chance on this guy because I can get at least, like, 3 fights out of him, right? Or 5 fights. But then at your age, with your record, that's where it's like, well, how many more years can I get out of this guy? Is it even worth us putting him like into the organization?
Yeah, I'm 35, and most of these kids are in their early 20s now. And you look at all the world champions, all of them generally become champion at the early 30s. A lot of them, or younger, they're like crazy talented, extra talented. But at 35, generally you're at the tail end of your MMA career, And so for me, my only chance of getting in the UFC is if I'm ready and they need somebody like within a few days.
Oh, like someone
Like super last
snaps
minute.
their ankle or something. They need
Yeah.
like a sub.
Yeah, and nobody else is available, and then I'm that guy that will come in and do it.
And if you're in, let's say you get in for that match, right? Is that a televised match guaranteed, or like?
Yeah, I mean televised in some degree, whether it's a prelims or whatever, because they'll have pay-per-view and then they'll have like an ESPN Plus,
Right.
and then they'll have like a UFC TV and all that stuff. And so that, for me, at my current point in my career, that's my only shot, my best shot at getting in. Otherwise, I'll be fighting regionally. Now, if I want to fight in other countries, like for like Risen and One FC and stuff like that, I have
other
a much,
organizations?
yeah, other organizations that are also big around the world. I have a much better shot at getting in. They're a little more lenient. As far as getting fighters in.
Why don't you fight in those
30.
ones? Is UFC like the kind of like the?
It was the unicorn, you know. Like I focused on Soha Life. I want it, you know. At this stage in my career, I still want to aim for the UFC. But if the other promotions want to give me a shot, I'm happy to. But even one, you know, when I was in talks with them, they want me to get 2 or 3 solid wins in because these last 2 years have been really, really inconsistent for me. I've knocked somebody out, I'd lose. I'd knock somebody out, I'd lose. I'd knock somebody out, I'd lose. I'm like, I need to just knock people out and not lose.
What's getting knocked out like?
Like I stop them. Either they go unconscious or.
For you, like, have you been knocked out?
Yeah.
I was there. I almost threw up.
I saw that one.
Yeah, so like when you see a fight on TV, right, and you see someone get knocked out, it's like you're kind of removed from it, and you're like, oh shit.
I'm cheering. I got chips are flying everywhere.
Yeah, and it's almost like an insane like slam dunk that you just watched.
Yeah.
But when you're personally connected to someone, it felt so crazy to see, like my coach to like body go limp and hit the ground, and I almost wanted to just throw up immediately. It was crazy.
My bad. Yeah, I mean, my whole career, I'm known as a power hitter, but my whole career, I've never been knocked out. And for whatever reason, just through bad luck, not whatever, it's my fault. But
We came at the wrong time.
that was my first, when they came to watch me, it was my first knockout. And then I thought it was a fluke, you know? And so I was like, oh man, like, I can't believe that happened. It was a fluke. That shouldn't have happened, you know? And so I fought again, like, a few months later, and I got knocked out again, but this time I actually got a concussion. And concussions suck. Like, don't downplay it. Like, I never really experienced it firsthand, but having a concussion sucks really, really bad. You're just hazy and, like, not all there for, like, an undetermined amount of time because there's no protocol on when the recovery is going to be. It's just whenever you recover. So I was just dazy and hazy. I felt like I was high, but I didn't want to be high for, I think, like a good 6 months. I just wasn't all there.
Shit.
Yeah, it lasted a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird. I was like, man, like, and then that finally I learned my lesson the hard way. I was like, okay, it wasn't a fluke. It happened twice in a row.
In the same way?
Same exact way, same exact punch, same exact scenario.
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
I need to change my ways. And finally, from then on, like my game kind of switched over. I was like, oh snap! Instead of hitting with 1,000% power, now I hit with 40% power. And of course, now that I'm 35 at the tail end of my career, I finally was able to realize that and make that change. But there's still work that can be done.
Do you think that when Bart saw you get knocked out, he should have walked up to the other guy and asked him to be your teacher?
That would have been hilarious. If you did it like, you are now my master. I was like,
the funny thing is though, like the whole, it was 2 rounds or 1 round.
it was 1 round. It was
The
all
whole
1 round.
1 round, he was beating the
Yeah.
fuck out of the other guy.
And it just came around and boom.
And he-
I remember you
think
guys
it
telling
was-
me about this.
Yeah, I think he was just getting comfortable, so his hands started dropping, and the other guy was like almost just like this, and just out of nowhere, and it just landed perfect.
Perfect on the button.
Because we were all cheering because we thought like you were just beating the fuck
Yeah,
out of the
and
other
I
guy.
heard to and I got excited. Like the arena's getting louder and louder and louder because I was just like, and then there was a break in action, and then even my head, I was being so dumb. I was like, all right, Ron, let's finish this. And of course, I'm like. And I walked right into it. I was like, and then I woke up. I was like, dang it, I just got knocked out, didn't I? And the ref's like, yeah, are you okay? I'm like, as good as I'm gonna be. I'm like, and then I put my head on his shoulder. I was like, dang it.
Hold me.
Yeah, I'm like, Herb Dean, this sucks.
I've always wanted to ask a fighter this. So are you ever like, that was bullshit, why did you call it so early? I was totally fine or anything like that.
You're like on the ground. I could have got up, dude. Like, why'd you stop the fight? Didn't you see my thumb was up? Yeah, that was my pro debut, and so as an amateur, I was 4-0, 4 fights in a row, 3 knockouts, and then I won a local title called the IFS lightweight title.
Congrats!
And thank you. It was cool. And then what was effed up though when I won the belt was dope, but the person that lost got this trophy that was like 7 feet tall, and the trophy was way cooler than his belt. And I was like,
You should get to pick.
yeah, I was like, can I have the trophy? I'm like, fudge. I'm like, oh, whatever, okay.
I'll fight you for it.
Yeah, I'll fight you for it. And so I made my pro debut, and then of course, you know, I was doing the same scenario. I was like beating this guy up, and then I walked in. I was like, all right, let's do this. I walk in. All of a sudden, I walk right into another hand. So you see this recurring issue with me. I get dropped, and then, but I'm fine. I'm fighting, and all of a sudden, the doctor runs in, and you could tell he wasn't a ref because he was decked out in Ed Hardy at the time.
What the fuck? What kind of doctor is this?
Yeah, it was weird. It was a weird situation. He came in and stopped the fight. But what's weird about that is doctors aren't allowed to step into the cage to stop the fight. The referees are the ones that stop the fight. And so the referee was like, dude, what are you doing in the cage? He literally unlocked the cage, walked in, and just started waving off the fight.
Was he one of the official doctors or some?
He was the cage side doctor. Okay. Yeah, he was the official
Veterinarian.
He was a vet.
He stopped the fight.
He came in and stopped the fight, you know, and so it was really weird. We even contested the decision to make it a no decision. Like, dude, why would the doctor go in and stop the fight? I'm like, I wasn't even unconscious. I was still defending, and then and so we never actually showed up because it wasn't worthwhile. But funny enough, of course not confirmed, but we made some assumptions that the doctor was friends with my opponent at the time. And so, funny enough, though, we made enough of a splash that the doctor was no longer allowed to work fights anymore.
Wow.
So at least it won't happen. It hasn't happened to anybody else since then. But that was a tough break. Oh, I've never seen my coach mad before, and he was pissed. He's scary when he's mad. And he came in. I don't know where he found a chair, but a chair appeared out of nowhere in the cage, and he freaking threw the chair. And I was like,
How come I can't see this kind of UFC shit? I always see guys on the floor just hugging.
oh yeah, it was pissed. Well, you know what? The fight was online, and then it got pulled.
Oh really?
It got pulled after we tried contesting the decision.
Wow.
And so the video got pulled. I'm like, all right.
They're just trying to cover up the bullshit.
Yeah, I was like, we're not gonna win this one. I'm like, let's just move on and not lose anymore. I'm like, okay. But yeah, and so that was one of the times where it was like really questionable. The fighter did nothing wrong. He did everything great on his part. He dropped me. You know, I was on defense mode. But some funky stuff was definitely happening that day.